Welcome to my small business management lecture. This is part 1, and it is an introductory lecture by me, Professor Henry Bwisa of Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Kenya. This lecture is for students of business, students of entrepreneurship, indeed even practicing business people, and anybody interested in business. So, I will start by defining the 3 words small, business, and management. Small, yes. Small is someone or something that is little or young. An example of small is a grain of sand as compared to a rock. An example small is a 2-year-old child. Well, debatable, maybe 2-year-old child but big. That, in other words, small is of a size that is less than normal or usual. How about business? How do we define business? I found an interesting conversation at this source, at this link. Let me carry you through it. Question: what is business? Answer: business is buying and selling. What? Buying and selling what? Goods, like cars or books, and the services, like changes, currency. By whom? By labor, by workers. But for whom? For customers, clients, people. But why? For profit, money. Where? In the market, in the world. So here, business is buying and selling goods and services by labor, that's workers, to the consumers for profit. And the activity is going on in the market. So that is business. There. Is that a business? Is that buying and selling? Well, so business can be an organization where people work together to make and sell products or services to earn a profit for the products and the services that have been offered. The word business comes from the word busy and means doing things. It works on regular basis. Doing things on regular basis is a good example of business. Now, we have had small and business. If you combine the two, there are no universally accepted definition of small business that exist. Look at those sources. That source. Indeed, they are telling us that different organizations, like this is the Small Business Administration in the US, they go by number of employees. 50 to 1,500 employees, that is a small business in the US. The turnover, that much. Somewhere else, 50 or fewer employees with full-time or full-time equivalent employees make a small business. Elsewhere, it's based on individual tax laws. So we're saying there is no universally accepted definition of small business. Depends on where you are. So let's not bother too much about the definition of small business, but go on and look at the principles and the practices. So now, the definition of management. You remember we have 3 words: small, business, management. So what's management? A definition I could captured at that source, management is all business and organizational activities, which is the act of coordinating the efforts of people to accomplish desired goals and objectives using available resources efficiently and effectively. That's Wikipedia. The art of getting things done through people. That is Mary Parker Follett. Yes, achieving goals through others is management. Further, what is management? Management is the process involving planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling human efforts to achieve stated objectives in an organization. The definition of some of the leading management thinkers are given, and we can get an example of Henry Fayol, who said that to manage is to forecast and plan, to control, to organize, to coordinate, and to command. What was reading between the lines is management is simply achieving goals through others. And therefore, the functions of management have been delineated. Those are the management functions. Is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. So management is performing those functions of planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. Yes, management. There must be a goal or goals to achieve. And we do that by planning the activities, organizing those activities, getting staff to be directed or led, and there must be always control, monitoring, and evaluation. So there it is, management, undertaking those 5 functions to achieve goals. Now, I will talk about planning function and leave the other functions of management for subsequent lectures. So in this part 1, I will dwell only on planning as the primary function of management. So what's the definition of planning? Definition of planning. Planning is the process of setting organizational goals and deciding how best to achieve them. Planning is deciding now what we are going to do later, including what is to be done and how it is to be done. Yes, when I say the process of setting organizational goals, I do not exclude individual business people. Indeed, you are a one-man organization if you are a sole proprietor, so you fit in that definition. Yes, planning, we want to look at it from different perspectives of different scholars. Planning is the process of deciding in advance. Underline the word in advance. What is to be done, who is to do it, how it is to be done, and when it is to be done. That is that source. Planning is the part of management concerned with creating procedures, rules, and guidelines for achieving a stated objective. Planning is carried out at both macro and micro levels. Managers need to create broad objectives and mission statements, as well as look after the day-to-day running of the company. Many views of planning. Look, you are planning, looking into the future, standing here, but looking at where the arrows are directing us. Indeed, we can say planning is looking into the future. A plan is a look into the future. So you are here today. You must plan. You must look into the future. You must select the road or the direction to the future. Indeed, it is said, if you do not know where you are going, then any road will lead you there. Or worse still, if you do not know where you are going, then you will go nowhere. That means if you don't set a goal, you will not achieve the goal. You'll do anything because you have not, you don't know your goal and where you're going. So planning is important. And indeed, the importance of planning. Why is planning important? One, it increases efficiency. When you plan, then you know how much input, how much effort you're going to put in to get that output. And efficiency, exactly that. That we don't want to use so many resources to get so little output. Planning reduces business-related risks. Yes, you have to anticipate that on a rainy day, what would I do? Those risks have to be reduced. It facilitates proper coordination. When you have planned and then coordinated or organized your work, then coordination will be easy. Of course, it assists in organizing and it gives the right direction because you have set a goal and you're going along the route to that goal. It keeps good control. We talked of monitoring and evaluation. When you have planned, you keep saying, am I achieving what I set? Maybe you have planned for weekly production. Every week, you look back and you say, am I achieving it? That's control. It helps to achieve objectives. Yes, you set an objective, a goal, and the plan will help you pursue that one. It motivates personnel. Yes, if people know that they have to produce so much per day or per hour, they are more motivated than leaving them just free. It encourages creativity and innovation. Yes, a good worker will be creative to finish the plan quickly or efficiently and probably even earn some bonus, and it helps in decision making. So when you have planned and something goes wrong, it assists you when you monitor and evaluate. It gives you a ground to make new decisions and so on and so forth. So we are therefore saying planning is the process of anticipating future events and conditions and determining courses of action for achieving organizational objectives. That was David Coates in their works. It is the one step in running a small business that is most commonly skipped, but it is the one thing that can keep a business on track and keep it there. That is again at that source. So planning is important. Yes, planning helps a business realize its vision, get things done, show when things cannot get done and why they may not have been done right, avoid costly mistakes, and determine the resources that will be needed to get things done. We are told by that good scholar, So, we are therefore saying that business planning for the small business is discussed, according to this scholar, discussed in other chapters, the readings that I will give you later. Now, the importance of planning can be summarized by Benjamin Franklin's words. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. That is Benjamin Franklin. How about the 34th USA president, that Dwight Eisenhower? He says, in preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. What does he mean? That yes, we may not predict the future with 100% certainty. We may not achieve the plans. Plans may not work as were planned, but the process of planning is useful because it helps you to think through it. So, whether the plan is going to be accomplished, achieved or not, planning is useful. And now, let us look at some common small business problems. Over the years, literature has it, personally, I've interacted with small business owners. I am a small business owner myself, and therefore, I can, without blinking, say that some of the common business problems are: 1, lack of finances; 2, lack of market. People start a business, production, but they don't know the market. Poor location. Yes, location is quite important. High taxation. We call it, the threats in a business when you're doing your SWOT. Poor record keeping. Yes, like if you're going to mistake cash for profit, then you're in trouble. Yes, the Me Too syndrome. People who start just business because their colleagues have started. A graduate starts a business and another graduate says, "Whoa, if my friend can start it, I can start it." That is dangerous. Poor hiring practices. Yes, I have seen in many small businesses, people hire relatives just because of some cultural aspects. And that poor hiring becomes costly. You hire a relative not qualified, and when the relative does a mistake, difficult to reprimand, therefore it becomes a problem. Stiff competition has also been a big problem. I remember I was doing poultry, layers, eggs. Then we had lots of stiff competition from Ugandan eggs here in Kenya, as far as Nairobi, and many of us, including my wife, were pushed out of business because of that competition. No business continuity. Yes, these are problems. We have seen many prominent business people the world over, Kenya in particular, when they die, the business also dies. There's no continuity. Now, I am saying that lack of business or lack of or poor or inadequate planning, and we have said planning is a look in the future, has consequences. One consequence is the poor startup capital gouging, and that's when we start complaining of lack of finances, the problem I've mentioned overleave. So, without planning, you will not estimate the starting capital very well, and you will lead to that lack of finance. Without planning, you will do poor market segmentation, just analyzing the market, and therefore you'll get your poor marketing, and poor marketing will lead to your business failure. Lack of planning will make you not adequately estimate the scales of economies or economies for scales, and that way you might even do poor location, because with proper economies of scale analysis, you can locate where economies of scale will benefit you. Without a business or without planning, there is weak accounting policy. And when there's weak accounting policy, there's poor record keeping. And that's been a problem in small businesses. Without planning, you'll have no employee policies. And then you employ anybody. You'll employ even your own relative. You employ your own son, and it becomes sometimes difficult. So, but if you have employed relatives based on your policies, then there's no problem. However, haphazard hiring practices that are a result of no employee policy can be dangerous. Without planning, your business to person fit will be poor. You'll not, just want to go into business, the Me Too business, it doesn't fit you. And yet, the Me Too syndrome problem, those coming into business just because of that somebody has gone in, you have not planned it, it doesn't fit you, and you fail very fast. Without planning, there will be no competitor analysis. And when there's no competitor analysis, you'll get stiff competition. Without planning, there will be lack of customer policy. And we don't have a customer policy. There will be no customer retention. And yet a repeat customer is one that is giving you those revenues. Without planning, there will be no risk analysis. And when there's no risk analysis, even that high taxation, you'll not anticipate it. It's an external factor, it's risky. Without planning, there will be no exit plan considerations, and therefore no business continuity. So you can see that many of the problems that businesses face, particularly small businesses, originate from this lack of poor, inadequate planning, because we don't look into the future adequately. So, we have gone through that lack of planning leads to consequences, and those are the ones that lead to those common problems that we have already enlisted. Now, planning is a process, and here is one version of that process. First, you must define your goal. You are in business. Why are you in business? What do you want to achieve? Once you set that goal, it will help you go forth. Now, step 2, now you will determine where you are relative to the goals. Yes, I want to get 1 million profit, but where am I now? Am I at 0? Am I at, at 500? It is important to step 1, you define the goal, and then do your situation analysis and find where you are now relative to the goal. And then step 3, you will determine the barriers and the aids in the environment. Sometimes we call this, you do a SWOT analysis. You identify your strengths, your weaknesses, and then you look at the opportunities and the threats that might face you. And then step 4, you develop a set of actions to reach your goals. And of course, step 5, you develop methods to control the operation of the business plan. But it's not all a walk in the park. There are always barriers. The barriers to achieving the goal that you set. So, risk analysis becomes important. SWOT analysis becomes important. Environmental analysis becomes important. We have more versions of the planning process. This one again, similar. First of all, analyze your current status and forecast the future environment. Then establish the goals and objectives, and then identify alternatives. If this doesn't happen, then this is what I'm going to do. If I don't sell in this market, I'll sell in another market. If my chicken feed do not work, local chicken feed, I'll become a distributor. Then you select the best alternative and you implement the plan. So that's one version. There is another version. That is 1, collection and analysis. What are you collecting? You must identify problems. You do your situation analysis, the inventory of what you have. You analyze all those and you determine the objective. So you do some thinking before you start your business. And then we reach now decision. When you have analyzed that and you see where you are, the finances, you have them, why should you bite more than you can chew? There is now the second stage. You now formulate alternatives. I have 50,000. Can I do it? Can I go into mitumba business? Can I go into chapati making? Can I go into ABCD? You evaluate those alternatives, formulate them, evaluate them, and make a decision. With 100,000, I want to do car wash and not restaurant. That will help. Otherwise, jumping into business just because there's money or going into a big business with little money can be dangerous. And finally, application and evaluation. So now you implement the plan, implement it, evaluate the plan. So these are now like I've given you about 3 different approaches or versions of the business process. And now, as we go further, I now want you to start my assignment. You will select a small business of your choice and secretly observe it over a short period of time. Remember, you have to do it all within this semester. Now, you may use mystery shopping approach to do that secret analysis. Now, invoke your cold call of consultancy and identify 1 or 2 key problems, maybe among the ones that we have already mentioned here, faced by that business that you selected. Then design a solution for it and gift it to the owner. Do a video with the owner about the problem and how to solve it. I will assess you by how the problem was solved and the feedback from the owner. If you have forgotten about shopping mystery or mystery shopping and cold call, yes, a mystery shopper is a paid consumer who is hired to shop in stores and collect data. Think of mystery shoppers as undercover customers sent in to obtain, to observe, interact, and report on other customers and store employees. So, be an undercover shopper. Go to that business, observe, and see the problems. And if you like, you can also find the problem tree analysis technique. Problem tree analysis is on this YouTube of mine. It will also help you analyze that problem further. And what we mean by cold calling, it is a technique in which a salesperson contacts individuals who have not previously expressed interest in the offered product or service. Cold call means you identify a problem and rather than wait for the client to advertise the problem, you approach the problem that I've seen. You have this problem, I can solve it this way. So you are using your mystery shopping approach and cold call to go to this identified business and identify that problem, solve it, and that is your examination. So I am saying this is not the end. It is to be continued. Lecture 2 will cover the other functions of management. So with the planning section function, which is the primary function, you are now ready to go. You can also read. You can look at my other videos on business in this YouTube of mine and get going as we continue with the lectures. So have a business problem-free day, won't you? Thank you.